Thank God you said that, dude. You are the biggest sturgeon slayer I've ever seen on Earth. Ice is ready, and we are back with another episode of the Empty Netters podcast, brought to you by BetMGM, and two-time Stanley Cup winner Andrew Ladd is joining the podcast. The man stays busy. Still, he stayed busy. I had pant tightness, table liftingness when he was talking about Berg at the World Juniors. Oh, dude, because you remember because we had seen him play for the Bees, and obviously some guys that are year in pro the team lets them leave for World Juniors. Like that happens in life, but it was a lockout, so there was just like go. Yeah. And there was all the Sid hype and all that stuff, but I just remember being like, we got a dog. Oh, he's dialed. So cool. And then also hearing stories about like a young up and coming Patrick Kane, Jonathan Taves, Duncan Keith, Brent Seabrook, Patrick Sharp, like guys about to win a Stanley Cup in Chicago, is so legendary. So legendary hearing about those stories, the parties too, unreal. And yeah, like I said, this guy, you're reading up on him, and the way this fucking dude was starting foundations, starting different programs while playing, and is now on back-to-backs all day because he's just grinding. He's the picture of how to just keep rocking even after you retire. Special dude. Special dude. We'll let you get into it. Enjoy this interview. Andrew Ladd, you are the best for coming on. Hope everyone has a great time. We are joined today by a Maple Ridge, British Columbia native, a World Junior gold medalist, the 4th overall pick in the 2004 draft of the Carolina Hurricanes, who also played for the Chicago Blackhawks, the Atlanta Thrashers, the Winnipeg Jets, the New York Islanders, and the Arizona Coyotes. You know you're getting up there when two teams you played for don't even exist anymore. And a two-time Stanley Cup champion in 2006 with the Canes and 2010 with the Hawks, Andrew Ladd. Welcome to the Empty Netters podcast. Let's go.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, thanks for having me. It's always like that list has gotten bigger and bigger over the years, but Ray Whitney always said it's just a sign that more teams wanted you. So
fact. That is that take. It's the only take to have, dude. It just means you're an incredibly desirable guy. Yeah. That's just the reality.
Got
to
see North America too. You know, a lot of guys, these guys stay in this one team the whole time. You never saw anything.
It's absolutely beautiful. Dude, we also just want to jump in and say we're a little early, but I kind of like this. We're getting the first one in. Happy birthday.
Thanks, man. Yeah, thank you.
Tomorrow.
I got 1 year left before the big 4-0. So
yeah, you gotta make sure you absolutely rip it, dude. Gas.
I was
gonna
to the metal. I was gonna ask if there was any midlife crisis forming already. Now that we're ending the decade, how you feeling? Yeah, not yet. So, too busy to have crisis right now.
Yeah,
that's
right.
Good.
Right. There's no Porsche outside.
Stay locked in, stay dialed, and you're gonna be absolutely fine. Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Well, dude, we want to jump into tons of your career here. And at first, doing some fun research on you and just looking at your great career, the start, which I feel like has modeled a lot of what you are involved in now and the lessons that you've passed down to young hockey players. When we go back to the WHL, you were getting an early start back when you were 16. You're playing in the WHL for the Vancouver Giants, and you have this amazing story about how you get cut. And you keep a great mentality, want to get back into it, and then you get cut again. And then you eventually get traded to the Calgary Hitmen after long conversations with your dad about what to do, how to keep the right mentality, and you absolutely light it up, dude. Like, unbelievable numbers, second in the league in points for first-year players, I think. You won the plus-minus award, absolutely buzzing, and then next thing you know, you're the second highest-rated North American player. You get drafted 4th overall in Raleigh for the hometown team. Talk to us about that whole journey and really how it kind of has molded you as a player and now a mentor with that mentality of getting through adversity like that.
Yeah, it's definitely really shaped. Like, I'm coaching, my kids are 11, 10, and 8 right now. So I'm coaching an age group that's pretty impressionable. So, and I think we all know what it's like now for young hockey players coming up and feeling like they need to be the best at 7 years old. And if they're not, it's a big downfall. So I think for me, growing up in a different time, I really, first of all, I just love the game. I love to compete. And I kept working and getting better. So, and I early on, I actually started before that because I used to play with my brother. My brother's a year older. So we would play together every other year. In my first year at Bantam, I got cut from the A team. So I broke my leg early the year before and came back and got cut from the team. And I always say like that was like the first like real adversity that I faced, which is funny to say because you're however old and you're like, oh man, I got cut from the A team. But in it's everything with context. It's the world that you live in, and like it's a big deal, right? It was a big deal for me, and there was like a embarrassment and shame for like not making the team, and I look back in a lot of different things, and in that moment, it was like I remember my parents sitting me down and be like, hey, okay, like you have a choice, like you can go and be miserable this whole year because you're not playing with your buddies and your brother, or you can make the best of the opportunity that you have ahead and make new friends and enjoy just playing hockey. And so that I decided to do that. And I think like the side part of that was being one of the best players on the B team was much more impactful for me than being middle of the pack on the A team. So I played more. I was in every situation, and I was the go-to guy. So as I saw value in that, and like I was like, oh, I really enjoyed being that player for that team. So it was interesting. I don't know if I truly understood that at the time, but as I moved along into like playing in junior and trying out for the Vancouver Giants when I was 16 and getting cut, I was just like, oh, okay, cool. Like I already know what to do.
Yeah.
I'm going to go back and I'm going to find another team, and I'm going to enjoy playing there, and I'm just going to keep getting better.
Yeah.
So that was the first time. And then, I went back as a 17-year-old. Actually, like they called me up late in the season as a 16-year-old to play a game. So I played one game, and obviously different now with the new rule changes, with CHL and NCAA and all that stuff. But so like I screwed my eligibility up essentially to like play that one game. So I came back the next year thinking, hey, I had a legitimate shot to be a part of the team. And lo and behold, cut again. So I can't go to college. I went back and played junior B. The next year I went back and played junior A. But in every situation I went back and I played more. I was a go-to guy on one of those teams, and I kept building my confidence and my ability to especially play the game offensively. I always had a knack for like working my butt off and grinding, but I was able to add like that offensive part of my game and work on that. And then halfway through my 17-year-old year in junior A, I got traded from my rights got traded from the Giants to the Calgary Hitmen. And my cousin actually played for the Calgary Hitmen at the time. So the next year I was thinking about redshirting in college for a year at that point. So I had a few colleges reach out.
Which ones can you say?
Bemidji State was interested. I think Maine had like called, but like that was it, right? So nothing concrete, but like they're definitely, I was like, oh, that could be a path for me. And but when they traded for my rights, my cousin was playing there. So I was like, oh, like he was my best friend growing up. I'm like, oh, I'll give it one more shot. Cause if I have a chance to play with him, that'd be awesome. And I went and tried out, and lo and behold, just made the team out of camp. And Ryan Getzlaff, and I remember like Brandon Siegel was a Nashville high pick. So I started off, they were actually at NHL camp, and they came back, and then I suddenly found myself with him or with Getzy and Siegs, and all of a sudden it was like, wow, like we started to build some chemistry and had an amazing year. And, throughout that year, it's such a weird moment because you're like not on the radar, and then all of a sudden like you're moving up the draft rankings and out of nowhere. But it almost came out of nowhere, like it allowed me just to play. I wasn't really thinking of it. I'm like, I had zero expectation and nothing to lose. So it ended up being a great learning experience for me, and something that anytime I talk to parents or kids nowadays, it's like, man, like you guys these kids are 8 years old. They have 10 years before this matters.
Yeah,
like,
for sure.
Think about and 20 years before you want to be the best at what you do.
Yeah.
So like when you think about it from that standpoint, like, hey, you have a shitload of time to develop as a hockey player and as a person to get to that next level.
Dude, you're Michael Jordan. You're getting cut by your junior team, and then you're getting drafted 4th overall. Like you're the perfect person to talk to these young kids. You're like, look at me.
Right.
Like, it all works out, baby.
Nope. I wish I had Michael's career, but
man, when you were buzzing in that year with Calgary, were you able to kind of step back and say to yourself, holy shit, the work I've put in is working out? It's I do belong here. I am going to make it to that next level. Or were you just so in it and in the zone of how you're playing?
Was it total whiplash for you? Because like you had a funny quote that you were like, I was young and dumb and I just wanted to play hockey. But I'm like, it must have been crazy to be like, I was literally out of this and now I'm the number 2 prospect. Like that is crazy.
Yeah, I don't like it. Was what I said earlier was true. Like I really truly loved what I did, and I love to compete.
Yeah.
And I gained confidence from how I trained in the off season. Like I would say I was like an early adopter of training and working out with my trainer back in Maple Ridge. His name was Adam Francilia, who was actually, like, weirdly enough, is working with a lot of the top goalies in the NHL now. So I was an early adopter of that, and it really was like repetition and work ethic that built my confidence. So like by the time I got to Calgary, I had put so much time and effort into that it was just like, oh, like I had confidence from the journey that I had taken and just continually trying to get better and better.
Totally. And that I'm always curious when guys are a very high draft pick in a draft. I'm always curious if you're aware of the guys you're getting drafted with, and obviously that sort of being the Ovechkin draft. Were you aware of him, and did you have any idea of the type of player he was going to become, or was it just like, you know, another young guy that you were like, oh yeah, here's this guy from Russia, I don't know how he's going to be?
Yeah, I think like at that time you had heard about Ovi and like the expectation that was on his shoulders and kind of the next great thing to come out of Russia. So, I mean, in that draft class, it was definitely Ovi and Malkin and everybody else.
Yeah.
That's how everyone felt going into it. And like I said, I was so excited just to be in that position. Like I didn't really care where I ended up, but then there's like, you're still paying attention to, like, you know, like Cam Barker was in Medicine Hat when I was in Calgary. So like you're paying attention, like, you know, he's a high prospect. And like when we played them, it was like, oh yeah, like every time I get a chance to go through Barks, I'm going through him.
Yeah, that's okay. I love that.
Yeah, so like you know that, and you're it's like a one-up competition. Like whenever you're playing each other, you're assuming, you know, scouts are watching and paying attention to those games just to see how you show up. So that was always in the back of my mind, is like fuel to like, okay, just, I think as with long seasons, you're always looking for ways to like get motivated to play night in, night out. And that was just another reason to do that.
Absolutely.
Totally.
Well, the Prospects is a perfect segue into the World Junior Tournament, which I'm so excited to talk to you about. You get picked for that 2005 team. Obviously, such an honor always to wear the national team sweater, right? So you've already got that going for you. And that was the lockout year. So everyone knew it was going to be such a unique tournament. And it was stacked up. Like you just said, Gino and Malkin on the Russia team, Flip Kessel on USA, Tuukka Rask, David Krejci. And then you guys casually are like,
dude,
Shea Weber, Dion Phaneuf, Mike Richards, Corey Perry, you, Cross, Berg. Like the most ridiculous lineup I've ever seen. You go 6-0. You score, I wrote it down. You score, and Getzy, I didn't even say Getzy. You score 41 goals. You give up 7, beat Russia 6-1 in the final. You have 2 apples in. What was it like playing on that team? That's ridiculous.
Oh man, I think everyone knew, like, the year before set the stage for the next year and the expectations the next year, because like they had such a young team. So they had so many returning players. They, you know, in hindsight, they had a tough bounce in the finals against the US. The US won. But for a young team, like they, you know, dominated for most of that tournament. So I think everyone knew coming back next year, the chances of us winning a gold medal was pretty high. So like for me coming into it, I'm like, oh, like I just want to be a part of this team. Like I'll do whatever it takes to be a part of this team. So, lucky enough, you know, Brent Sutter's a coach. He coached in Red Deer just down the road. So he had the opportunity to see me, you know, 15 times a year playing against the Red Deer Rebels. So I think I had that working for me. And it was just like, it was the first experience I had that like, oh, this is what it's like to be a pro.
Oh, cool.
And it was like, just like the execution level, the preparation from Brent's side to like even the players, and how when we hit the ice for practice, it was so dialed and everyone was so crisp and executed. And it was just, the intensity level was nothing that I'd ever seen until that point. And then there's always the fun stuff, right? Like, Sid not being able to walk around outside because, as a 16-year-old kid, like that was,
crazy.
That was crazy to watch, see him handle that at such a young age. And I think we maybe take for granted sometimes, like how well he has handled the expectation literally from that moment all the way
For sure.
Such a good point.
to the end of his career. So that was the first thing that stuck out to me. And then obviously once you're a part of that team, it was just, again, like the failure that you could tell the failure the year before in not winning a gold medal was such a driving force for all the returning players. And they were just so determined to like, hey, like we're not going to leave anything to chance.
Yeah.
And I thought we had the perfect coach with Brent to set the stage as like, allowing us to just execute. So he gave us the right framework to have success, and we did the rest. So, but it was awesome, man. Like the crowds from our exhibition games in Winnipeg going down to Grand Forks, it was unlike anything that I've ever experienced. And it's like every goal you score is like, Stanley Cup winning goal.
Yeah.
So it is like that. Everyone gets so excited to score in that tournament. Like no matter what the score is, it's like everybody is just jacked to put one in the net. So even that, I was like, I had never experienced like everyone's so excited to score a goal.
Yeah, that rush,
dude. How cool was that? Obviously, that was really early in your career. It was that at the very, very, very beginning. But how awesome was that for your compete level and just your maturity in the game to in a lockout year have a tournament that cool with that many high profile players
and be like, these are future stars. I guess it's easy to say in hindsight, you maybe didn't know, but it felt like this is the future stars
Definitely.
of the league.
Yeah, I don't think at the time we knew, but I think for me, especially coming out of nowhere and you don't really, I never did any of the Hockey Canada stuff.
Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
All the way up. Like that was literally my first time playing Hockey Canada stuff.
So crazy. The best junior team of all time.
And so I'd never had the opportunity to like see how I stacked up against anybody, so like for me, it was a confidence builder from the standpoint of like, oh, like I can play with this level player. So that was a cool part for me, and be able to see like the skill level and the mix. I think it's like the mix of skill level and compete and determination. And buy-in, like the willingness to buy into, like we had, like our fourth line was like Clark MacArthur, Steven Dixon, and Colin Fraser. And it was like, they were like a true, like, bought in completely to like, hey, we're blocking shots, killing penalties and doing our part. So I think that was the other part now that I think back is like the buy-in it takes to win was so apparent with that group. And there's a lot of egos. Like that's a lot of egos at a young age. So like you had a lot of, and ego can be a powerful thing, when it's, used the right way. And I think that was on full display when we were in that tournament.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no doubt.
Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask, could you tell, you said very well at that young age, you don't really know who's going to be what. You're just trying to play the game. But was there any part of you that remembers, could you tell with Sid, even at 16 years old, were you like, this kid's the real deal?
Oh yeah. Yeah. Yeah, you could. I just like, man, his strength and his, ability to hold on to the puck and make plays at such high speeds. You could, I mean, for 16 years old, it was incredible to watch. And just his, like I said, his maturity was impressive. I think looking back, like the player that I was like, man, that guy is exceptional was Patrice Bergeron.
Yeah. Wow.
Like
that
you could tell at that age, like like he was a man amongst boys, even with the group that we had and playing Obi and Malkin. Like you could just tell he had a year of pro under his belt, but like I remember watching him being like, oh, like he is exceptional. Like he's the best player on this team.
That's so awesome.
Wow.
So that's fun to like look back now. And obviously you see his game evolve and watching him get all the accolades and win Stanley Cups and Selkies and everything that he's done. You're like, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, that tracks. That tracks.
Checks out.
Did you do you remember what the boys got up to after when you were celebrating?
Oh yeah, like I remember like originally it was first in it was like we had our family and everything in the arena, and then it was like, hey, going back to Winnipeg. because you're in the US, you're not.
Yeah. You got to go over the border.
You get over the border. At least you could have a couple beers with your buddies and celebrate what you've been up to. So that was a lot of fun. I think any championship team that you play with, having like that moment with just like hanging out with the guys that you accomplished that with is always special. So like it was that I do remember that part of just like being able to hang out as a group after and let it kind of sink in, especially since at that point it hadn't been done in a while. We've had a little bit of a drought, so it was nice to fulfill the expectation that I think the whole country had,
which started a 5-year run, I think, too.
Oh yeah.
So yeah.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Even 6.
The snowball began. Yeah. Well, you take the success from that.
Full credit for that too.
Yeah. That's a completely ladder. Well, you take the success from that and you roll it right into the next year. You get called up to the NHL. You're playing serious minutes with the Canes, and you go as a 2 seed into the playoffs. And you guys kind of cruised to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then you get into a slugfest against Buffalo that goes 7 games. Then you go to the Cup, and you're playing the Oilers, and things get pretty tough. And you have an awesome quote talking about Brind'Amour and him telling the team, you said, he sat everyone down and you said, if we were at the start of the year and said we had 1 game to win the Stanley Cup, would we take that? And how much that impacted you guys in the locker room and being like, yeah, all right, we're here. We got this opportunity. As such a young player in the league, what was it like stepping into this role in the NHL and all of a sudden you're playing for a Stanley Cup? How did you channel that energy into eventually winning and lifting it before you were even legally allowed to drink a beer in the U.S.?
Yeah, it wasn't hard for me to like channel any energy. I think it was like bottling up for, to be constructive with it. I was 19 and full of piss and vinegar, and I'd happily run out there and run out with my head cut off, try to run people over. But I think I was lucky that year to have like there was multiple veteran players in that room that were able to, in big moments, calm the group down and refocus on like what was important.
Yeah.
So, and that quote like about Roddy is like context is we were up 3-1. What was it? 3-1. And then they came back.
That's right.
And post the game 7. So it was after game 6. And again, it was just like him leading was like refocusing the group on like, when you're in a downward spiral, you feel like something's slipping away from you. There needs to be some disruption there and a call for like, hey, like this, we have the group in this room to get this done. We're going back home to play to win a Stanley Cup. Let's refocus on just like, hey, what we have to do to win the next game. So, it was like, for me, it was just like, okay, cool. And you'll, ever since that, you notice like even ebbs and flows of games, like it's impacted how the ups and downs of different games that I've played is like, okay, like let's, great, we're reeling, refocus. Like what's the next step that we have to get after to start having success and pushing the ball the other way. So, so many great leaders on that team. And Roddy was for me, leading the whole group with not only how he showed up day in, day out, but when something needed to be said, he was the person to step up and set everybody straight.
Do you think, and I'll say we heard a lot of that from the Panthers guys this year as they were kind of letting their lead slip away. It was a similar mindset, similar argument. One thing I wanted to ask, because I know you've been asked before, and people get this all the time when you win early, but it's like, did you think you were going to go to the Cup every year after that? And I know you were like, no, it's hard, and I get that. But one question I do have is, did you think you would be a Cane forever at that? Like in those days, as you're celebrating with the boys, you're like, I know it's a business, but I'm going to be a long time Cane and we're going to compete forever.
Yeah, because you have that funny story, I think, where you're talking to, or Kami said to you something like, this guy's going to be a power forward for the Canes for decades. Yeah. And then it's like ends a couple of years later.
Yeah, it was, I didn't have a full appreciation of how hard it was to win a Stanley Cup. That's for sure. And then, to your point, like I definitely thought I was going to be there a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, looking at the roster that we had, we essentially had 3 younger players. It was me, Cam Ward, and Eric Stahl.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
We had a very veteran based, roster. And so I thought like, yeah, like if I'm looking at this, like I'm going to be here a while. Autohouse, you know, they're in the worst recession in a long time. Another learning moment. But and then so like I think the challenge of coming back after winning a Stanley Cup is a real thing. Like going from such a high to come back to training camp, you have a short summer, and then you're trying to like get back up to that pace that you need to get back up and get that hunger back, and and that was a challenge for everybody. So we struggled to refine our identity, and you lose some different pieces, whenever you have success, things change. So you kind of have to refine it. And, that's part of it. I was definitely blindsided by that trade. I still remember sitting in, we were in the meal room before a game, and our team service representative came in and was like, "Ladder, can I talk to you?" And I was like, "Oh, okay."
Oh no, yeah, fuck,
yeah. And then they're like, "Lavi wants to talk to you." So Peter Laviolette. I was like, "Okay," my heart's in my stomach and just waiting to hear what was up. And it was a weird moment because like the trade hadn't gone through yet, but Lavi was like, "I got something to tell you. Like, can you wait here?"
Oh wow.
I'm like, I think you've been traded. I'm like, okay, cool. I'll just stand here. And then my phone blew up, my agent.
Yeah.
And I think it hit maybe TV at that time. So my agent was like, I think you just got traded to Chicago. And I'm like, okay. So Lavi comes back. He's like, have you heard? And I'm like, yeah, like, I think I'm guessing it's Chicago. That's what I heard. My agent told me. And he's like, yeah, Chicago, like Dale Talon will reach out shortly. And, so just, want to thank you for everything you've done. But like, actually the weird part was I actually never heard from Jimmy. Like Jimmy Rutherford never came down to say anything to me.
No way.
Damn.
Which was odd. So I think maybe he was just busy that day or whatever, but
sorry,
fucking better a bit.
Late, dude.
Like,
sorry.
No, like, it was odd. Like that Jimmy never came down and told me himself, but, that's part of the business. And then you're on to the next plan. I think I always tell this story, but like I literally was like waiting for my plane to Chicago, and Ron Francis was like running through the airport to pick up Tuomo Ruutu coming off the plane that I was about to get on. So it happens fast, and then you're in the next city onto the next thing. So you learn pretty early that it's a business, and that's there's people like to say like, hey, we're a family and we want to treat people like family. And it's like, you don't trade family. So it's like, sometimes that word gets tossed around a little freely. And at a young age, you tend to take it to heart. But that's just part of the business, and on to the next city and the next opportunity.
Well, another perfect segue as we move to Chicago. And before we even get to the 2010 of it, when you got there, it's a 19-year-old Kaner and Taze. It's a, young 20s Keith and Buff and Seabrook. Were you like, oh, we're on to something here right away?
No, I wasn't.
Interesting.
Yeah, it was, you could definitely see the potential. But coming from like such a veteran team with like watching the habits that they have away from the rink and practice and all this different stuff and showing up, and I'm like, everybody's kind of like floating around, and you definitely still see the skill level. But it was a little bit of like chaos. Like it was not as, what's the best way to describe that? Like we won games based solely on skill,
right?
And not the structure, not working together, not playing as a group. So I think that was evident. But like you said, like, I mean, watching Kaner and Tazer practice and playing games and like picking up the puck, and like they would just score, right? They would have the ability to walk through.
That's so awesome. Yeah, you do that all the time,
right? Yeah. So it's like, oh, like we're not playing that great, and we're still like keeping it close or winning hockey games based solely because like we have these two studs that are just that talented.
Yeah.
So, and I think like that's the power of such a veteran coach, and like you learn to appreciate exceptional coaches because they have the ability to come in and like harness all that and refocus it to like, hey, how do we create a winner here? And we came back the following year and they made the coaching change from Savvy to so Denny Savard to Joel Quenneville. Year was like, yeah, okay, like this is we're gonna have like this is the guy that will help us turn this around. So immediately, I think that helped bolster the confidence in the group, and then it was like, hey, like everything started to shine through in terms of like you said, Dunks and Siebes on the back end, and allowed them to step into being more leaders and a big part of that D for the next 15 years, and then creating and then putting people in the right positions to succeed. So it was such a fun group to be a part of because everyone was so young and you could tell there was hunger to get better. We just needed help, like, putting it together and having some structure and putting all that stuff to good use.
Yeah,
for
and
sure.
a perfect coach for it. And you certainly did put it together as you begin the 2010, that run in the playoffs. You guys were just dominant. When you get to the Cup, I think it was game 4, I want to say, of the Western Conference Finals, you got hurt and you didn't come back till game 4 of the finals. Was that ever up in the, were you like, oh, I might miss the whole Cup? Or were you like, I'm definitely getting back, I just don't know which game? How on the knife's edge was that injury for you?
Yeah.
Like I didn't think I was going to get back. So I actually broke the bone in my shoulder right on the front here. And so I spent pretty much I would literally go physio to another physio, hyperbaric chamber, back to the rink. Like I was literally doing everything I could just to, your shoulder is so connected to everything in your body.
Oh man.
Like I was just trying to get it so I could lift it over my head and move it. Cause then I was like, then I can play. Like I just need to be able to move it. But right now it was just dead for, I don't know, a week and a half or whatever. So, I essentially came back. I came back in game 3 of the finals. Was it game 3? I think. Bad memory, man.
Yeah.
And they were like, yeah, like it might break. It might just break again.
God, dude.
And I was just like, okay, like I'll freeze
how was
it,
the pain? Were you like in a ton of pain too? Or were you just you get shot up there? Or how was that like?
I mean, once I got shot up, I was good to go.
Yeah.
I wasn't feeling much pain at all. And
you're like, it might be broken. I can't feel anything.
Yeah. So, I mean, I still remember like my first game in the finals was in Philly, game 3. And I like come in my first shift and I literally turned to hit with my right shoulder. And I think I buried Braden Coburn after the whistle and got a penalty. And then I was like, okay, we're
good. We're back
now. Yeah. So, and then after that, like once I don't know, in those moments, it's just, you're so hyper focused on playing and doing the right thing that like, once I got going, it actually wasn't bad.
Okay, good. And then just, describe game 6 to us with Kaner sneaking it in. Nobody knows what's going on, absolute chaos scenes. What was that like?
And how were you guys feeling? You're in OT, obviously, in a game 6. Were you thinking you got to get the job done now? Did you feel like you were in control? What were all the feelings in that game?
Oh, I mean, like I've never been a part of a more confident group to like win. Like it was such a weird feeling. Like when we were in Carolina, it was like, holy shit, like, are we going to win? But like with that team in Chicago, it was like, we're going to win. Like,
even more so than the World Junior team, which was literally the Monstars.
Yeah, maybe not that much, but in terms of like an NHL roster, it was like we were never out of a game. We were always had the ability. It just felt like we had so many different pieces that could step up at any given moment.
Yeah.
And it was going to happen. So it was a weird feeling, but there was such a belief that we were gonna, it was going to happen, and that we were the group to do it. That you're just create such confidence on the bench.
Oh. Was there chaos after the Kaner goal? Because I mean, that's got to be one of the most famous Stanley Cup goals of all time, right?
Because you can tell half the boys don't want to celebrate yet because they're looking back like, are we sure that went in? Because I don't want to throw my stick if we have to keep playing.
Yeah, I didn't see it. Like I was battling with in front, so I was facing the other direction, so I didn't see if it went in. But I was pretty like usually when Patrick Kane shoots the puck, like he knows if it's going, if it's in the net, he knows.
Yeah.
So I was trusting his judgment on that standpoint, and I think Patrick Sharp, I think, is still pissed off at me to this day because I like cut him off as he's chasing Kaner, and he's got to stop, and then so I ruined his celebration a bit. But it was just so weird because then you were like, we were pretty sure it went in, but you're like, hey, like if this isn't in, this is going to be
so awkward.
Great, not a great look, so awkward. And then lucky enough, like our coaches and our bench had the reaction. They saw the replay, and it's pretty evident that it was in. So I think looking back, it would have been like more enjoyable if everyone just knew it was in the bench, and we could have had that celebration without the pause of like, should I take my helmet off and go up or not, or pick it up. But like you said, it's one of the more memorable Stanley Cup goals in history. So something that people remember.
More fun cup for you because of some perspective, or it's like picking between your children?
Yeah, a little bit like picking between your children. There's definitely differences. You know, in a non-traditional hockey market, winning a Stanley Cup is different than, you know, a hockey-hungry city, which I didn't realize how hockey-hungry Chicago was until we started having success there, and they put the team back on TV. But like rolling up Michigan Ave with 1 million people at the parade was an experience, and so that was that part. My appreciation for what it took to get back there, even at that point, was higher. I felt like I was a bigger part of like the leadership and
definitely
bigger piece of that group. And so there's a bunch of different differences. I obviously don't trade either one. They're both a part of you. And the other part is like when you've won before, you know what to expect.
Sure.
With after, and like it was like, hey, like I actually like want to spend more time on the ice and like let this soak in, and you know, even remembering the first, like the best part of that first cup was like us being in the dressing room alone.
Yeah.
And like actual, like in like, you know, letting guys know like, hey, like let's take time to like actually enjoy this and just hang out as a group, because when we get back to Chicago, it's going to be a shit show.
Yes, dude.
So, and it was like actually one of the nice things about winning the cup on the road is the fact that like you have more time with the group. So you have that, you know, time in the room with everybody, and then all of a sudden the families and everyone leaves. It's just you and your team and the trainers and coaches. And then we had the full plane ride home together. So to me, like that was, anytime you accomplish something like that takes a full season and blood, sweat, and tears to accomplish. It's nice to have those moments just to like sit down and enjoy and reflect as a group.
Absolutely. Are there any all-time stories from that celebration that you can share?
Oh man. Probably not.
That's fair, Ladder.
Yeah,
that's why I said that you can share, because I know some of them need to be kept into the vault.
They're like one of the coolest things we did was we just had a party bus. So I think Adam Burge got a party bus, and we would literally go from bar to bar, just different places around the city, places that we had frequented over the last few years, and like that we'd like to go to as a team. And it was literally like a flash mob. So like, you know, on a Tuesday night, we'd walk into a bar, and then all of a sudden, like the whole place was just jammed.
Yeah.
And then people started to get the idea that we were doing that. So it was like, where is it going next? And so I remember walking. I can't remember who. Someone decided it was going to be a good idea to take the cup down the street. And it was like all of a sudden was like a mob of people. The street was full. And then we got back to the bus. The cup guy's like, yeah, don't do that again. Don't do that.
Never again. Yeah.
Yeah, never again. And then, you know, we've had to me, that was the best part, is like, we just shared it with the city, and like, we were everywhere, all over, and just enjoying it. We had such a young group. Like we were all 20 to 26 or 27 years old. Just enjoying that win with the city that had been, you know, again, had a long drought. They hadn't won in 49 years. So to be a part of the excitement to come back and bring hockey back to Chicago was pretty awesome.
Unbelievable, dude. Unbelievable. Walking the cup down the streets of Chicago.
Yeah.
Absolutely unhinged behavior.
Yeah. I did that in Carolina, and it was like,
no one knew.
Myself, where is everybody?
Who's this guy? Why does this guy have wheels on his suitcase? What the fuck is this have?
Jesus. Well, man, you talked about your shoulder injury before that, and getting into some more of those. After Chicago, you get traded to Atlanta with a bunch of the other boys, which is crazy, but you get named captain. You then have some of the best years of your career, setting career highs in a bunch of different things. You have the switch to Winnipeg, where you're the captain there as well. You sign the contract there, and you then get dealt to the Hawks again for another little cup run there. And after all that, you go to the Islanders. The ACL happens in 2018. And I think it's an interesting situation, because I want to talk to you about, were you having flashbacks to before, or the Vancouver Giants days of, geez, I'm getting, I'm not playing, I'm trying to battle some of this stuff. But also, like I alluded to earlier, just the unbelievable compete level that it feels like you have, and how you just battle through adversity and how you've passed this on. What was that phase in your career like?
Oh man, it was tough. Like I picked up 3 kids along the way.
Yeah.
So I had, at that time, when I first got to New York, I had a 3-year-old, a 2-year-old, and a newborn, which is another part of handling, obviously not only what you're going through, but you're influencing a lot more people and your wife and your kids at home. So it was a struggle. I literally had tore my meniscus, had a meniscal repair, came back for 10 games, and blew my ACL, MCL, meniscus out in my other knee.
Yeah.
And it was just like, oh, you're grinding back, and then all of a sudden, as you get older, it just starts it doesn't come back the same.
Yeah.
You don't have the same pop, and at that time, the league's getting faster, and everything just kind of feels like it's slipping away. And my go-to was always, like you said, I could grind, I could work my ass off. I was determined. And at that time, it was like, oh shit, I don't know what to do anymore.
Yeah.
That button's not working anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was a tough time, because I'd never up until that point, I would always just internalize and carry whatever burden was going on. I would carry the weight of that, and I'd figure it out. And I would say it took me out of being present at the rink. It took me out of being present at home. I really struggled with, I was numb to everything that was going on. And now I can look back and be like, oh shit, my identity was wrapped up in being a hockey player and having success and being able to be that guy that always bounced back. And it wasn't happening. So it was a challenging time for me. And then I ended up in the minors. So I was doing a 2.5-hour drive to Bridgeport every day from Long Island, because I didn't want to uproot my family. And you're kind of back to there's the embarrassment and there's shame. Oh shit. I was played 16 years in the NHL, and now I'm back here. And I was 50 games away from 1,000. So I was I wanted to get back to get to 1,000 games. So there was, it was, I look back now, and it was the best thing that happened to me, because I had to first of all, I had reached out to a mental performance coach through Thomas Hickey, who was kind of in the same situation. He was in New York with me at the time. So he recommended him, and I started working with him, and really changed how I was approaching the situation that I was in. And I remember him being like, hey, you could quit, man. You don't have to do this anymore. You got lots of money. You don't need to do this. And I had I was just fuck you, man.
For sure.
And so it really was tapping into that part of me, and also understanding that hey, I can, there's opportunity here to influence young players. And they have a guy who's coming back who has 2 Stanley Cups to the minors, and that they get to learn from. They can learn different things. They can learn that you're an asshole and that you don't want to be there, or they can learn hey, that this guy's willing to help me out and help develop, and is happy to be here. So I had that choice laid in front of me, and then it was like, okay, cool. Like I'm going to choose to like actually enjoy being in Bridgeport, and I'm going to enjoy like helping young kids, and I'm actually going to enjoy playing the game without any pressure. And like it kind of dawned on me, like, holy shit, I stopped loving the game and enjoying what I was doing. And like that's such a big part of grinding, and because if you don't love it and you're not enjoying what you're up to, man, it makes that grind such a heavier lift. So and it really started to shift how I was interacting with people and how I interacted with my wife and kids, and what was valuable to me in that moment. So yeah, like I said, it was definitely a tough time with lots of adversity, but it was like one of the most impactful, few years of my life.
Absolutely, man. And once you achieved that mentality, I know you were never the type of player who was chasing accolades or anything like that, but how special was it once you kind of got into that mindset, once you ended up in Arizona, were able to get to 1,000 games and kind of finish off your career in a really cool way? That must have felt amazing.
Oh, it was awesome. Yeah. I think like I said, like I would give the guy I was working with a hard time, because it was like we were 2.5 years into working with each other. I'm like, man, like we've been working together for 2.5 years, and like I played 3 NHL games since we started working together. So yeah. Something's got to give. But it was a journey, man. Like I was in the minors, and then fought my way back. So like I started like shifted my mindset, and was like actually got back to playing well.
All right, everybody, it's Chomps time. You know what that means. It's time for my favorite snack, my favorite easy, convenient, on-the-go snack in the business. I get these coming out my ears at the office. I love them so much. This one's the jalapeno beef stick, which I've gassed up. I also love the taco seasoning one, but I got to tell you, there's a new one out. We just got it. It's this sea salt. It's this gray packaging. Fantastic. I'm talking 10 to 12 grams of protein, 0 sugar, 100% grass-fed beef. This snack changes everything for me in terms of when we need to find time around the studio while we're here. We're grinding on videos for you guys. I'm starving. There's no time for lunch. Chomps saves the day every single time. I love the flavor profiles. I love how fast and delicious they are. It's incredible. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to chomps.com/emptynetters. Check out all they've got going on. Find the flavor that you love and get yourself some chomps today. Happy chomping. We're all getting stoned in 2025. How about that? We've got a monster giveaway for you, all right? You're going to get some Almost Friday merch. You're going to get a unique Almost Friday experience, and you're going to get a year free of THC and Delta 9 products. Are you kidding me? What you need to do is you need to fill out the survey below. It's 2 to 3 questions about how you like to get banged up on the weekends. How hard could that be? The requirements: be 21 and over. Fill out the survey like having fun all the time. That's it. It's one of the easiest giveaways you'll ever be a part of. So all you got to do is look in the description, click the link right there, and enter yourself for a chance to win Almost Friday merch, unique Almost Friday experience, and a year free of THC and Delta 9 products. That's what I'm talking about. And I know it's what you're talking about too. So have a very high 2025 with me and check out the survey right now. See you on the other side. Quick break to talk to you guys about our deal with BetMGM, because I'm obsessed with it, and I need you to become obsessed with it right now too. Because if you're not obsessed with it, you are missing out on a lot of fun and a lot of action. If you download the BetMGM app and use promo code NETTERS, NETTERS, what you get to do is place a bet from $5 to $1,500 on some puck, on some football, on some basketball, on who Juan Soto hates the most, whatever you want. There'll be a cool bet out there. You find it, you place that bet, and if you win, great job, good bet, smart bet. If you lose, BetMGM takes that money and puts it back into your account in the form of bonus bets so you can place a bet on something else. Are you kidding me with that offer? Don't miss out on this. Go to BetMGM, download the app, use our promo code, and start enjoying yourself right now. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY for New York. Call 1-800-327-5050 for Massachusetts. 21 plus only. Please gamble responsibly. Call 1-800-NEXT-STEP for Arizona. 1-800-BETS-OFF for Iowa. 1-800-981-0023 for Puerto Rico. First bet offer for new customers only. Subject to eligibility requirements. Bonus bets are non-withdrawable. In partnership with Kansas Crossing Casino and Hotel, see BetMGM.com for terms. U.S. promotional offers not available in New York, Nevada, Ontario, or Puerto Rico.
It's a big contract. So it in my mind, I was like, hey, New York Islanders are going to try to win. Like they want to win now. So my contract at that time was a pretty big burden that I was like, hey, at some point they're just going to have to like bite a bullet and get rid of me. And I mean, looking back, they traded away Taves mostly because like my contract, right?
Yeah.
And then I think got to the point where, I was in the minors and I was trying to play well enough that other teams would actually take a chance on me. And luckily, Bill Armstrong and Shane Doan, at that time, I think valued my leadership and what I could bring to that organization, who was trying to, they build a really young group. They wanted a lot of young players to develop and start to change the culture there in Arizona. I mean, Arizona was looking for leadership with your young group, and they decided to take a chance on me. And it was funny talking to Bill Armstrong after, because he's like, I don't even know if you could play.
Yeah.
Like so I think they were pleasantly surprised that I could still have somewhat of an impact to play and be a part of helping to lead that group. So yeah, I mean, it was great, man. Like it was fun to be a part of playing hockey there. Like my kids, my family had an awesome time there. We loved it, and it was just like a second lease on like, hey, like I get, you appreciate the next opportunity or last opportunity to play in the league, and you're enjoying those games. Even that much more. I think over the course of your career, you can get into different moments where you're just take for granted like what you have, and like the opportunity you get to play in the NHL and to live the way that we live, and play in the places that we do. So it was nice to have that second opportunity to like, okay, like I'm actually going to take advantage of this and make sure that my kids are going to all the games, and that we can kind of soak it up as a family and one more time. So it was awesome, man. And then, at the end, it was again, I was like, I think I was 8 games away from 1,000, and my right meniscus just finally decided it was done with me.
Yeah.
So like I had one more surgery, and they ripped that out, and so now it's gone, and then I had like 2 weeks to get back and play, just to have enough games to finish and get to 1,000 before the end of the year. So it was a grind right to the end. I was like, I remember it was like 999, and I was like throwing up on the plane to Vancouver. So I was just like, we're not even in the playoffs. I'm like grinding to like get out there, and I think that might have been the worst game I've ever played in the NHL. But have one knee and no fluid left in my body.
Yeah, ladder's dead body. Like, just sit on the far blue line, dude. Don't move. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And then it was cool. I played my 1,000th game against Carolina. Was it Carolina? Yeah, I think it was Carolina. And then I had the opportunity to have my like ceremony against Chicago and line up against Kaner one last time, and Johnny. So the way it worked out was awesome. And that moment of getting the silver stick on the ice with all my family and friends there was pretty special after the the previous 3 years. Everyone had kind of known what I'd gone through. So
extremely storybook, awesome. Dude. Extremely storybook. And not to mention the challenges that you faced during that led you to the 16-16 thing that you and your wife Brandy formed through the Lad Foundation. And first of all, I love how many reasons that name is cool. Like you wore 16, you played 16 years. 16-16 was when the Buffalo was found, which was whether the Storm was a pack. Like there's a million.
It's the best name ever. Yeah, the origins of the name are elite.
So sick. But it's just tell our listeners a little bit about it, because it's such an awesome thing you guys have going. Your inaugural season, you had 88 teams involved, 1,400 players. It's kids age 10 to 12, right? And so you can do the physical, mental, and social well-being of the game, ready to face the challenges and the ups and downs of life they're going to inevitably go through the eyes and the POVs of guys who made it in the league. So tell everyone about the 4Cs concept and just what that whole situation means to you and your family.
Yeah, so it's our third year. So we had 88 teams our first year. Last year we had 213, and this year we had 427.
Come on, dude. Unbelievable.
So we've literally, so don't undersell me, okay?
Yeah.
So we've doubled every year, which has been awesome to see. And really it started with, actually like when I was on Long Island. So my last year in Long Island, it was a COVID year. When they had taxi squads. So I actually wasn't playing. So I would literally, they didn't have enough games in the minors for me to play in the minors. I didn't qualify to get called up from the taxi squad. They didn't want me on the main roster. So I would literally text Lou Lamoriello at like 10 o'clock at night and be like, hey, what time can I skate tomorrow? So I skated by myself that whole year.
Crazy, man.
And I remember like the performance coach that I was working with was like, hey man, like at this end of this year, like what do you want to be proud of? Because he's like, I don't think you'll just be proud of yourself if you just skate by yourself every day. Like, yeah, you may become like get your skills back up and stay in shape, but like, what do you want to like? What's your purpose going to be this year? So, and that was really like the start of like thinking of like my wife and I had long supported mental health initiatives, but everything that we had saw was very reactive, not proactive.
Mm-hmm.
So it's like, hey, kids are having a problem or someone's having an issue. Like, how do we help them now? Instead of, you know, like we develop hockey players and give them foundational skills on the ice. Like, you know, can we do that off the ice? Can we do that with the mental skills that you know, a lot of NHL players these days are working on? They have people that they're working with. They have specific coaches and experts that they're working with in that space because they're seeing, you know, not only the health benefits, but also like the performance benefits of what they're doing. So that was the start of 1616. And then it was like, hey, how do we, there was actually, I randomly had a connection to a researcher at Queen's University in Ontario that their expertise was positive youth development in sport. So essentially, they were sitting on over 30 years of research on how to create the ideal environment for kids to thrive in sport. And you mentioned the 4 C's. So it is like that if you focus on these 4 C's and you can help kids develop in these 4 C's, then they'll have the best opportunity to thrive and grow in that environment. And those 4 C's are the competence of just playing the game, and then confidence, connection, and character. So our program really focuses on confidence, connection, and character. And how we do that is we use stories from current, former pro players, men and women that have, you know, and hockey players are funny because they usually don't like telling you they're modest, right? It's like, hey, you know, we don't like telling people like our stories about how we got to where we are and a lot of the tough times that they have. But so and unless they're telling them to kids, and then they were like super excited to do that. So our program is for 10 to 12-year-old players, and we went out and found over 20 current and former pro players to tell their story about how they're like, you know, maybe they struggled with confidence, or they struggled connecting with teammates and didn't understand that value, and then came to light how valuable that was. The different character elements like resilience and those types of things. So very simple concepts actually, but you know, like we're being very intentional with teaching kids that, hey, like your people that you look up to have struggled with the same thing that you're struggling with. Here's how they overcame it, and here's the choices you have in those moments. So it's been great. We've created like they're over 20 episodes. They're like 5 to 6 minute episodes, like fast paced YouTube style videos. And we have 2 seasons. So 2 10-week years that kids can go through. And you go through it as a team. And like, so my U13 team is going through it right now. We watch a video every Monday. Yeah. And it's 5 to 6 minutes. We chat about it. Kids get an understanding of the concept and why it's important. And then the other part of our program is how, like, halfway through the week, they'll get a iPhone style video from a current NHLer or PWHL player that says, hey, like, this is what I'm doing in my life currently to work and practice on these things. We call it our live it out. So then the kids get challenged to, hey, practice this like you would go practice your shot, or like you would go practice your skating, like practice this in your life this week. And we've had some amazing testimonials from different parents and coaches just on the value that we've created in the minor hockey system across North America. So it's it's been a great transition for me out of the game to have this purpose and continue to pay it forward.
Dude, one of the most fascinating stats I saw was that mental health challenges have arrived by age 14, and we're rarely getting ahead of that. So I just think you should be extremely proud of
100%.
what you've done here, because this didn't exist before you.
It's so impressive, Ladder. I just, I think a lot of people, myself included, when you looked up 1616 and saw that it works with 10 to 12, my immediate knee-jerk reaction was, wow, that's so young. But you are so onto something in that it's important to get ahead of it with young kids and young athletes, that these are things that can start to seep in super early, and working with young people and athletes to get their confidence specifically up at a young age is so smart and just beyond awesome that you guys are doing this.
Yeah, thanks. And the best part about it is it's like, and what we've seen is we have three streams. So one for the coach, one for the parent, and then one for the kids. Because we understand, like, hey, we can teach the kids whatever, but if the parents and coaches don't have the skills or the tools or the understanding and how to support the kids in these concepts, then it's not going to have the same effect.
Totally.
So, and I think, like, what we have seen too is parents and coaches, it's given them an avenue to approach these concepts without, having an awkward way of approaching it, or like they've naturally and organically just happened where they can have that conversation that, we all know, like, there's so many valuable lessons that you learn in sport and so many like micro moments that you can leverage for kids to understand. And the best part about sport is, like, hey, you get another chance to do it again the next day. So even if you screw up, it's like, oh, here, like another chance the next day. So having everybody in that ecosystem understand the importance and the opportunities that are available to teach kids in those moments, it's super valuable, and something that we're going to try to keep honing in and getting better at as we move forward.
I love it.
It's a beautiful thing. Ladder, the last thing we do with everybody, we'll play rapid fire with you, is a game we call Pass, Shoot, Score. And we're going to give you categories of things that we know you like. And there's 3 things in each category, and you have to rank them: pass, shoot, and score. Pass is your least favorite because passing the puck is cool, but whatever. And then all the way up to scoring, which is your favorite because we're trying to light the lamp, baby.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Your first category is weekend activity: pass, shoot, score, a round of golf, wake surfing, or sturgeon fishing.
I'll pass on golf.
Oh my God.
Yeah, time. It's a lot of time. I will, man, that's tough. I will shoot on surfing, and I will score with sturgeon fishing, because
thank God you said that, dude. You are the biggest sturgeon slayer I've ever seen on earth.
Dude, Ladder, I would have put my life savings that you were going to score with fishing. I've never fucking seen anything like what you do in my entire life. Like, why did you ever become a professional hockey player? You should have your own Charlie Moore Outdoors channel about fishing.
I mean, and the dirty little secret is that my fishing skills are not great. I just have like a really good guide who's literally named Sturgeon Slayers. And so his name's Kevin Estrada, and we played together my first year pro in Lowell. So he does all the work, and I'm tossing the line in.
Dude, what does that entail? We love to fish, but it's like striped bass in Maine, those things are that's the biggest fish I've ever seen. What does it entail to catch one of those?
I mean, you got to find the right spot in the river, because they're bottom feeders. They sit on the, over ledges and at the bottom. So having a good guide that knows exactly where those spots are. Fresh bait always helps. And yeah, there's definitely an art to it that I've tried to pay attention to, but, and then it's such a remote location where they're at. So they're like an hour and a half from Vancouver.
Yeah.
Up in a canyon. So they know the waters extremely well. And there's a lot of massive fish out there. I used to do a tournament every year, and we've kind of slowed down just a little bit with all the work we've been doing with 1616. But, Matt Barzell came out, and I don't think he's ever fished in his life. And he had within 10 minutes had an 11 footer on. And,
Dude,
ask
this
about
is
that.
fucking bullshit.
Yeah. I want to go, dude. Bring me
I need to go.
Right?
I'm the least lucky fisherman who's ever fucking lived. So if Barzy can reel an 11 footer, then I must have a chance.
Yeah.
This is unbelievable.
You
All
got a
right, your
chance.
next
Just let me
one.
know. I'll tell you.
Yeah, there you go. Your next one is tennis legends, because I know you are a tennis guy. Pass, shoot, score. Federer, Nadal, Joker.
Oh, score with Federer
Yes, thank God, dude.
for sure.
Thank God.
Pass with Nadal, shoot with Joker.
That's my guy right there, dude. That's my guy right there.
I love it. I love it. I have to admit though, that documentary made me like Nadal more.
Yeah.
I mean, they're all unreal. We've seen that you're a fan of the Inner Game of Tennis, the book, and then you've also been to the Open a few times. What was the best Open experience for you?
Oh, I mean, I think like seeing Federer live, at the Open was probably my favorite moment. I think it's such a cool atmosphere, and like seeing like,
dude, so awesome.
New York crowd and like center stage. It's under the lights. It was like watching that guy do his thing at the U.S. Open at center court was pretty amazing.
Dude, underrated tweet. I was scouring through your tweets. Is like 2011. You were at the Open, and like you tweeted something like at the U.S. Open, and then like an hour later, there was another tweet from you that just said, "This Roger guy is pretty good." Yeah. I was like, "Oh fuck yeah, that's awesome."
Yeah,
he's legit.
Yeah.
Okay, your next one is local specialty foods. Pass, shoot, score. Chicago deep dish, New York bagels, or Winnipeg honey dill sauce.
I was literally just in New York, and I crushed probably 4 bagels.
Good.
So I'm gonna score. You know what's funny, man? Like I was so dialed my diet when I was in New York.
I knew you were gonna say this, dude. I knew you were gonna be like, I've never had honey dill sauce.
Right, and then I was like, it was funny because like I all of a sudden I wasn't playing, and I was just like, whatever. I'm done worrying about what I eat. And it was like I discovered New York bagels after living there for 3 years, and I was like, this is the best thing ever.
Let's go.
I'm gonna score with New York bagels. I've never even, I haven't heard the honey. What'd you say, honey dill?
Dude, apparently it's honey, mayo, and dill, and they give it to you on your chicken fingers and fries. And it's
I
all
bet
the
that's
rage.
gas. I bet that's gas. We got to make it. That's a Winnipeg staple, apparently.
I will shoot with that because I trust the culinary skills of Winnipeggers.
Love that.
And I'm going to pass the deep dish. I'm not a deep dish guy.
It's not pizza. It's ridiculous.
It's a ridiculous food. Sorry, Chicago natives.
I don't love it, but a lot of great things in Chicago, but I'm going to pass on the
but the bagels, baby. The bagels.
Bagels.
Fantastic.
Dangerous.
All right, your last one. These are important destinations for you. Pass, shoot, score. Little Engine Wines, Bora Bora, and Crown Mountain.
I'll score with Crown Mountain.
So sick, dude.
That picture, is that better? If that is not framed in your house somewhere, you are a fool.
Oh my God.
I don't think it is yet. Actually, I should put it up there.
Hey, anyone who needs a birthday gift for Ladder.
Yeah, we figured it out. No, Christmas gift.
Yeah.
Or actually, tomorrow's the birthday.
Frame the picture. Yeah. So I will pass on Little Engine Wine and score with Bora Bora because
honeymoon. Yeah, it's pretty sick. It's pretty sick.
Yeah. It's hard to top.
Yeah.
It's been cool seeing a bunch of Little Engine Wine stuff. Are you a big wino, or is that just like an awesome group that you work with for some of the stuff that you guys have been doing?
Yeah, they're a great little great winery up here in the Okanagan here in Canada. So like it's in BC, a great BC wine. There's after being in the US long enough and tasting like the California wines, it's tough to find Canadian ones that match up, in my opinion. So Little Engine is one of the very few that I find has the same quality as they do in the States. So I would say like I've dialed it back a little. I definitely was a wino, and now I'm more like tequila guy.
Nice.
Tequila
Those are the two
Trying to keep
go-tos.
That's
safe,
huge.
you know?
Yeah, that's huge.
I love it. All right, Ladder. Well, this has been amazing. We know you got to run. Can't thank you enough for hopping on. This has been so fun. Before we let you jump, is there anything you want to plug? Anything you want to shout out?
Yeah. So 1616 is, it starts up every year. So we're already like almost at the end of this season. But if you have a 10 to 12-year-old who's playing hockey, and wants to try out 1616, it is completely free to everyone. We've made it free to everybody. So be on the lookout, for our next season, which we'll start next fall, but we're always doing different things throughout the summer to keep people in the loop on what's coming up. And we're going to keep working at getting it better and continuing to enroll more people in what we're up to.
Hell yeah.
Amazing, man.
Absolutely. So cool. So cool. All right, man. Thank you so much. This was a blast.
Thanks, guys. Yeah, I appreciate it. That was awesome.
Dude, no, you're the truth, dude. We can't thank you enough. It's so fun.